Hi, welcome to Prolific Creation Studios. My name is Dr. Diocares, and today I'm going to talk to you about why it's important to read in order for you to be an amazing writer. There's a lot of reasons why it is important to read consistently, and today I'm going to give you at least 5 to 10 different reasons why you should make reading one of your daily habits. Depending on the genre that you like to read about, it's going to expose you to different kinds of writing styles. For instance, if you like to read anything in the fiction genres, then you may be looking at sci-fi, you may be looking at fantasy, and so you're going to experience different perspectives, different styles of writing, and different voices that are going to give you an idea of what that kind of style looks like and what is the main framework that the author uses to write. It's also going to help you build your vocabulary. The more that you read, the more that you're going to be exposed to different kinds of words, and therefore make you grow your vocabulary. And it doesn't mean that you have to look up every single new word that you encounter while you're reading, but it is going to give you an opportunity to explore and learn new words because you'll be able to figure out what it means in a sentence. It also is going to help you understand structure and organization. The way that an author writes is pretty much the way that their thought process works. And that's going to give you a perspective into how different people think. It's interesting because one of the things that authors do is when you're reading their book, it's almost like you're going inside their mind and they're sharing a piece of themselves that unless you really give it a chance, you're not going to be able to understand. The next one is to learn from the masters. If you get your works published, that's actually a pretty big deal, especially if you are one of those best-selling authors. That means that not just a few people enjoy the way that they write or the ideas that they have or the creations that they make, but it means that a lot of people are able to make that connection with the author and identify with some aspect of the story or the genre or just the way that the author writes that makes it super interesting. It's also going to help you develop some critical thinking skills. Critical thinking is important because it helps you analyze and interpret different kinds of content. With this era where everything is available on our phones and we can just get information instantaneously, a lot of times we skip that portion of actually having to do some critical thinking of our own. Critical thinking is vital because it helps us figure out problems, come up with some creative solutions. It helps us think beyond whatever information or data or resources are given to us. It actually helps us think. It also enhances your imagination and creativity. Like I was saying earlier, a lot of times when everything is just given to us, that creative portion of us doesn't come out. And so one of the things that even when you're thinking about self-care, or even when you're thinking about anything outside of work, if your creative gene or that creative spark hasn't been activated, you're going to find very little purpose or very little just anything extra in your life. And so it's important to be creative. Tap into that creativity because you might be amazed at some of the things that you may come up with. You're also going to be able to observe how language is used. Language is fascinating on its own, and whether you speak English, Spanish, or whatever other language, the way that language comes about has a lot to do with culture, has a lot to do with customs, has a lot to do with even simple things like slang. And so it's going to give you an opportunity to experience maybe one language in its different forms. It's also going to help you improve your grammar and syntax. For a lot of people, because we type, because we text, because we use electronics, we're very used to starting to type a word and the computer just figures out what we need to type. And so we forget what it is to sometimes have correct grammar or be able to write a word correctly. And so it's going to help you look at how a certain word is spelled, what is the correct spelling of that word, and also if you decide to take it a step further and it's a word that you don't know, it may cause you to even look up the meaning of the word. So that, again, it is going to expand your vocabulary. It's also going to help you understand what the audience's expectations are. For instance, let's say that you decide to read, and I'll tell you about my favorite genre, which in the moment is fantasy. My expectation are certain things about the book, right? So for instance, it's probably going to talk about magic. It's probably going to talk about things, because it is fantasy, that are not in what we experience in everyday life. And so my expectation is when I get into a new book or I'm just reading a book, that the author is going to be able to create an idea, present an idea that is probably not my everyday life, and allow me to dream and fantasize about this idea in the book that is outside of my norm. And then finally, it's going to help you expand your cultural awareness. Through books, we're able to travel within our own couches into different countries, into different cities, into different dimensions, because the author is able to present to us a whole new idea of what a world could look like. So that's actually pretty awesome, because it can help you expand your cultural awareness, especially if you're looking at books that are outside of what your current culture is. It may allow you to travel without you actually having to leave your house. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you for joining me today on these quick tips and ideas of why it's important to read, and happy reading.